Right, well, I'm going to tell you a little bit about what we've got here at the site, and then I'll tell you a little bit about the Olympics. And during while I'm talking, please, if there's any questions, just ask away, and I'll answer them as we go through, rather than wait at the end. Is that all right? Can everybody hear me? Yes, I thought my voice does carry, so if I use one of them, I'll be better with it, I really will. The site here is totally owned by Eton College. It was an idea that was thought up about 40 years ago by the masters, who said, we'd like to get the boys off the river and onto their own purpose-built lake. And they own most of this land anyway, so it was a project that started, as I say, about 40 years ago, but it did take a lot of getting off the ground. If you know anything about building on this scale, you'll appreciate that you apply for planning permission, and there's a lot of people that say, we don't want you to do this, and we don't like changes. People don't like changes, but all the people who didn't like changes, they come over and they say, oh, how could we ever object to this? It's wonderful, because they all come and use it now. So it is a wonderful site. I think it's 470 acres, I think we've got here. There's arboretums all the way around here. There's about 3,000 trees that have been planted, and it is one of the finest courses in the world. When they decided to have the Olympic Games in London, it was, they thought about building a new one in East London, but this was too good, it really was, so it was going to come in. It's in the centre of all the hotels, in the centre of the airport, so it's a perfect place to have the Olympic Games. When they started to build it, or plan it, they found out that this used to be the estuary of the Thames. Now when you think about the Thames at the moment, it's a big wide river. It's very small compared to what it used to be 2 million years ago. It used to be like 30 or 40 miles across at the estuary, and that was the Thames. And this used to be underwater. It was all part of the Thames. So we knew there was gravel here. We just had to get down and start to dig it out. And they were hoping that the gravel would pay for the site. It didn't quite happen because the market, the bottom fell out the market a little bit. In the end, it cost them about 10, 12 million pounds. But it was well worth it. It is a beautiful course. It's fresh water. It comes from the aquifer, which means it percolates through the ground. As the river goes up and down, the lake goes up and down with it. We can allow the water to flow into the Thames if we want, but we don't take any water from the Thames. So it is perfectly clear. The last weekend we had 3 triathlons on Friday, Saturday and Sunday. This weekend we've got a major regatta. Next weekend we've got 2 more triathlons. We have loads of events here, and the athletes love coming here because the water is so clear and fresh. They can fall in, drink it, wouldn't do them any harm at all. It's not like the Thames where you have to get pumped out if you fall in there. This is clear, crystal clear water. It's 4.5 metres deep. Now, people say, why do you want it so deep? Because we dug it all out. It's because if you want an international course, it has to be a minimum of 3 metres deep. That's the regulations. Otherwise, you get a drag off the bottom. As the water goes over, it's pulled back by the movement on the top. It's going fast, and there's no movement on the bottom. So they have to make it a minimum of 3 metres. We decided to make it 4.5 metres because it is so clear that you get photosynthesis takes place, makes the weed grow on the bottom. So we regularly drag the bottom of the lake to drag the weed off, and then we harvest it and get rid of it. So it's a completely weed-free lake. The last 3 Olympics have been spoiled. The rowing has been spoiled by weeds in the lake. They've had frogmen in the last 2 Olympics that I've been through. They've had frogmen going down and pulling the weed off the bottom to stop it getting on the fins of the boat during the regatta. You won't have any of that here because we look after the bottom of the lake and drag it all off. As I say, when they started to build it, they found out it was the estuary of the Thames, and because it was the estuary of the Thames, as the water receded over the years, 500,000 years and things like that, you had islands forming. And anywhere you had water and islands in 2 million years ago, or 1.5 million years ago, you had communities forming. So they found Bronze Age communities, I can't remember the other sort of communities they had, but they had quite a few communities, and they found old remains here, old bridges. They found a couple of burial mounds as well. One of the burial mounds they found was right in the middle of the lake. And they knew they were building the lake there, so well, we want the burial mound here, so they dug it up, moved it to the side, and you can see it right down the bottom there, there's a burial mound. which for 2.5 million years old, I think that would have been in the middle of the lake. So any time you have that sort of thing happen, it slows down the progress of building a lake, because you have to get these people in, they come in with their trowels and they're very meticulously dig up and shake it all out to see what they can find. And it took about another 10 years off the time. So we actually finished the course in 2006. And they tried to finish it at that time because we decided to have the World Championships in 2006 here, just to see if we could handle the Olympic Games. And it was very successful. It was a wonderful games. So they knew we could handle the Olympic Games, so when we won the bid, it was obvious it was going to come here. So this is why we have the Olympics here. It's 2,200 metres long, 2,000 metres from that end up to the finishing tower, which is across there. I do apologise for all the scaffold at the moment, but they're trying to build other things. Everything that's being built at the moment is temporary. Nothing will stay, because we don't want to spoil the site. So all the major buildings are here, anything else is going to be temporary and taken away again. But as I say, they started to build it again, and it's set up at the moment for rowing. Now, when we have the Olympics here, with the first week of the Olympics traditionally is for rowing. The second week is for canoeing. And because we have canoeing and rowing, a multi-purpose sport here, we'll have the rowing first, and when the last medal is given out on the Saturday night, we've got 12 hours, or a group of people have got 12 hours to completely take the lake apart. What I mean, take all the furniture out of the lake and replace it with furniture for the canoeing. And that is quite a feat when you think about it. It's set up at the moment for rowing. You can see the lanes out there. Those lanes are 13.5 metres wide, and there's 8 of them, which they can race in 6. The canoeists only race in half the distance, so the start pontoons have got to be brought down halfway ready for that. Plus they race in 9 lanes, which are 9 metres wide. So we have to take all those lanes out, move them across, put more lanes in, and change all the buoy lines, because the rowers row in yellow and red buoys, and the canoeists paddle in alternate colour buoys. So every buoy's got to be changed as well. And it takes a lot of time and a lot of effort. So that will be. But the first week of the Olympics is for rowing. I was very honoured at the last Olympics. My son was competing and he won a gold medal. He's trying to defend his title again at this Olympics. I think he wins another one. I told him he can't get back in the house unless he wins another one. But I'll probably get it. So hopefully he'll win another one. But here we have at the moment a very, very strong rowing team in this country. It's probably over the last 20 years we've moved up from being somewhere down there to right overtaking everybody, and we are the predominant rowing nation of the world at the moment. And it took a lot of effort. I mean, I'm not a national coach anymore. I retired about 10 years ago and I've come here, but the coaches are exceptional. They really are. Wonderful coaches, wonderful athletes, and we've qualified every boat for the Olympics, so hopefully we can win a lot of medals in, I think it's what, 9 weeks time, is it? Is it 9 weeks, Mark? 9 weeks, and the Olympic Games will be here. Now, I hope that's told you a little bit about this. Oh, just before we start, just before I move on to the Olympics, on that side over there where the finishing tower is, we're going to have 4,000 people seated on those high stands over there. And they will be family and friends of FISA and the athletes. So there'll be special seats, but there'll be 4,000 people over there seated. On this side over here will be the public stand, and there'll be 16,000 people seated there. So it's going to be quite an arena. You're going to have the athletes coming into the last 250, 300 metres, and it'll be like coming into a gladiatorial arena, where the noise will be dramatic. I mean, when you talk to the athletes, they say when they come to that last bit of the race, the noise and the din and it just lifts them and makes them a bit further. We're going to have another 10,000 people roaming around Walton. So we'll have 20,000 people seated, 10,000 people roaming around, so it'll be 30,000 people a day competing here. The second week of the Olympics, when the rowers are all finished, they'll have the canoeists here, and I think we're expecting about 20,000 people a day for that. And then when the Olympics are over, 10 days after the Olympics finished, we have another event starting here, which is the Paralympics, which is a separate event, and we'll have about 4,000 or 5,000 people a day coming to see that as well. So, well, there's going to be quite a lot of work done here for the last 4 weeks. The public will come onto this site by a new bridge that's been built over there from the Thames, which will bring people from the racecourse, Windsor racecourse, across the bridge. They'll walk across the bridge that's been built over there onto the site, so we won't disturb the local people by driving through their village, which is only fair, I think. All right. The bridge over there, although it's only a temporary bridge, it's going to be taken away after the Olympics, it's built large enough and strong enough to hold 27,000 people in an hour and a quarter walking across it. So it's quite a structure, and it's going to be taken away when the Olympics are finished. Just to talk a little bit about the Olympics, please, if you want to ask any questions, fire away, I'll answer them where we're going. Just very quickly talk about the Olympics a little bit. The Olympics are split into 2 areas, if you like. We have the modern Olympics and the ancient Olympics, if you like. The Olympic Games, I mean, when I was asked to give a talk a few months ago, I thought I should pick a book up somewhere or get on the internet and find out a little bit more about it. And I was shocked at some of the things that I found out about the Games. When it first started in 776 BC, which was a hell of a long time, and long before I was born, a long time ago, it was for the athletes or the young soldiers to show their strengths, and there was only one event. The Olympic Games started with one event only, and it was interesting about this event because it answers a few more questions that I asked myself about where these words come from. Because the one event in the first Olympics was a 200 yards run. The athletes raced against, the soldiers raced against each other, and the distance they ran was called a stadium. It was a 200-metre distance, and that was called a stadium. There tells you your answer of where stadium comes from. And then the next couple of Olympics, they decided to have a 2-stadium race, and they called it a stadium. So you had 2 stadiums, and then the next add to the competition was a 24-stadium race, which moved into a very long distance. Then they introduced the 5-event competition for running, shooting, throwing, higher, long, middle, everything else. And then they invented the 4, or they decided to have the 4-horse chariot race, and then it got cut down to the 2-horse chariot race, and then it evolved from then. It went on like that for about 1,150 years, and then it was axed. The Romans decided that too many people were getting too fit, and their soldiers were getting too strong to fight their soldiers, so they killed it. So there was no Olympic Games after about 1,150 years after it started. It didn't start again until 1896, when a Frenchman called Baron de Coubertin decided we should start this up again for the people to compete against each other. So he started it again in 1896. The first one was obviously in Athens. It went home to its original site. It wasn't very successful, but it did start. The second one was in St. Louis in America. The next one went back to France. That's when it started to go a little bit haywire, because the one that was in France lasted, I mean, the Olympic Games last at the moment 2 weeks. The one in France lasted 6 months. I mean, it was crazy. Everyone said, why did it last 6 months? Well, they just didn't know how to stop it. It started off, and they said, well, there's a tournament going on there for running. We call that Olympic tournament. There's a cycle tournament called Olympic Zone. In fact, there's even a story about an Englishman who was cycling around Europe who turned up in Paris, put his name down, and won a gold medal in the discus. I mean, he could just enter and do it. But after that, they started getting a bit more structured.